What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. Man, we got an exciting three-part series coming to you. Starting off with today. So basically what's going to happen is over these next 3 episodes, including this one, Macon and I are going to each do our football season, 2021 football season predictions. So, and we actually have a really exciting giveaway opportunity as well that you definitely do not want to miss out on. So with that being said, though, before we kind of get into it, I want to take a second. Please make sure, again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, as it really helps support us and the channel. Please like this video if you enjoyed this video, and also to make sure to check out all of our other NC State content, and follow us at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. So make sure to go and check us out for sure. So again, kind of getting into it in terms of how it's going to work. So basically for each episode, Macon and I are going to predict the 4 games. So this episode, we're going to predict USF, Mississippi State, Clemson, and Furman, and then et cetera, et cetera. And basically how it's going to work. So kind of talking about the giveaway now. So for the giveaway is basically we are actually giving away a $100 red and white gift card,
Woo!
red and white shop gift card. Yeah, $100 gift card.
That's a big boy.
So, I mean, we're bumping it up. But
Awesome.
With that, it's going to be a pretty exciting giveaway. So for those who don't know already, make sure to check out in the description below the rules for the giveaway. With that being said, let's go and jump right into it, starting off with USF. So, Macon, I'll hand it to you, man.
So I was, kind of looking at this game. It's going to be a Thursday night game, September 2nd. I'm really excited about that. My wife and I are going to have tickets to that game. This is a team that's coached by Jeff Scott, who was at Clemson. This will be his second year there, and last year they were just not good. I mean, they've lost 22 of their last 28 games since 2018. Now, obviously, that goes ahead of Jeff Scott. But they've got a lot of stuff. I know one of the main things that was interesting was that their quarterback battle they're having right now. I know it's between two former ACC quarterbacks. Jaron Williams, who used to be at Miami, who didn't really see a lot of playing time. And then, I don't know if everybody remembers his name, Cade Fortin from Carolina. So he transferred there. So it sounds like Cade Fortin is the guy to beat for USF. But that's two names people may know about. They've got basically all 5 of their offensive line returning. I know they kind of had some issues last season with that. Their D returns basically just about everybody. I know they got a guy on their team who's basically, like, looking at my notes here. His name's Antonio Greer, Dwayne Boyles. Those guys, those are some of their linebackers. And one thing I noticed about our schedule this season, a lot of the teams we're going to play, at least, about half of them, I should say, the linebackers are the strengths of a lot of these teams are going to play this season. Honestly, my thought is I think State wins this game. I don't see this as being too much of a struggle. I don't think it's too much to really, dig into with USF. What do you think, Leighton?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, so kind of take a step back. So again, so basically, State has an 85.5% chance to win per FBI, and USF is at 14.5. So last year, obviously, State went 8-3 in the regular season, and then USF was 1-8. They won the first game, and then they went on an 8-game losing streak. And so one thing that stood out to me immediately was they were actually talking about how State actually opened up when the lines were first released as a 16.5-point favorite. And now it's moved to 18.5 points, which, for those, who don't really follow numbers, depending on how the line moves can mean a couple different things. Either the Vegas books basically have learned some new information to kind of move it in that direction, or there's been some big money put in that direction. So, and as we all know, Vegas knows everything when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
So, I mean, So, I mean, that's one big thing, but also too, obviously this is Jeff Scott's this is his second season. So he's still rebuilding. He's still trying to figure out and get his program running. But the biggest issue really when it came down to last season for offense was the quarterback. There was a lot of inconsistency. And I just don't know because basically it comes down to Cade Fortin is the guy that's been there. He knows the system better. But Miami's Jaron Williams, he's the more talented guy. And so I just don't know if, especially the first game, that whatever quarterback they pick is still going to be figuring things out. They're still going to getting used to the playing. So I just, don't think you're going to see a lot from the offensive side. But also, too, on the defensive side, they actually gave up 212 yards per game rushing last year,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave up about 40 points per game. And you might say, well, they're going to get better, right? Well, they lost a lot. They lost a lot on defense, and actually have 10 transfers on defense, 10. So a lot of new faces, and they're going to just be figuring out systems. So yeah, I mean, for me, I put this as a win, but definitely, hope for sure that we can start to see some of the backups, and start to see some guys get some playing time before Mississippi State.
Yeah,
So,
and to kind of go along with that, Leighton, I saw some interesting stats about them. I saw that last season, as bad as they were, I know that, but these are just kind of some numbers to back it up a little bit. It's kind of interesting. I think when you mentioned how you would like to see some of our backups get in, I think we have a good chance to have this. This is one of the reasons why I said in 2020, teams outscored South Florida in the first quarter 92-37. So people could really get on them early. So I feel like a state, wants to come out, a night game, come out early, put a whooping on them early. I think it's going to be a big thing. And then another thing I noticed I've read was that they seemed to struggle turning the ball over last season. They had 11 fumbles on the season, and their opponents, at least, I don't know if you would consider it forcing, but their opponents had 3 fumbles total in the season to their 11. So they weren't winning the turnover battle either. So I think it's going to be a solid win for State. I don't know about how much necessarily, but I think it's a win.
All right, so now we've already obviously kind of mentioned it, but Mississippi State, obviously going to Mississippi State. It's a night game. It's a tough environment. Cowbells ringing all over the place, but I think there's definitely going to be now a kind of homecoming sense now with everything that's happened in the College World Series. So I definitely think this game has changed over the last couple of months for sure in a lot of fans' eyes. So, Macon, I'll hand off to you for your prediction.
Yeah, to kind of go with saying too, I know people would say like they want to win this game. I think they'd be bummed if they lost this game. But at the same time, I know people are saying, "Oh, well, you guys love Mississippi State now, and if you lose to them, you're going to hate their guts." No, I'm not. After how they treated us in the College World Series, and try to support NC State, I am. If we lose, it's going to stink because I want State to beat them. But I think so highly of Mississippi State and their fans right now. So, so that kind of just to their credit. And if you get to go, I imagine I saw a bunch of people on Twitter saying, I can't, Mississippi State fans, I can't wait to host State fans at this game coming up to, for the NC State fans coming to Starkville just to treat them. That'll be a really fun game to go to. If you're going to go to Starkville to go see a game like that with all those Cowbells, it might as well be this one as much as they're probably going to welcome us into that stadium. So hopefully you guys can get to go to that game. But for me, you look on it, it's Mike Leach team. Mike Leach is either really up or he is really down. I know they basically had their first game last season. KJ Costello is their quarterback. He looked great the first game. And then it was like, a roulette on what you got every other game after that. So I think now it's basically the quarterback is Will Rogers for Mississippi State. It seems like he is the guy, and he is going to be the key to that team because it sounded like they seemed to struggle generally offensively, but they struggled running the ball. Obviously, you're in a Mike Leach team. It's an air raid offense, and they've got a really good running back who's one of their best offensive players, Joquavius Marks. I think it's Joquavius Marks. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Will Rogers operates their offense second game into the season. I think their defense is going to be their strength. I noticed that they had, again, their linebackers are big time, really good players. I'm trying to look, they lose their leading tackler, but they get some of their linebackers' names are Tyrus Wheat, Aaron Brule, who I would say he's considered their best defensive player on Mississippi State. His last name is Brule, Brule. I'm a little torn on it because we have had such a bad record playing against SEC teams. But the way I think this game is going to set up going into Starkville that weekend, I do think State gets the win. I think basically right now I saw that it's like a 66% chance Mississippi State, 33.6% chance that NC State gets the win, according to ESPN's FPI. I'm betting that actually State pulls it out. I think it's going to be tough playing in there. I think they're going to have to mentally play through those cowbells. I think that our defense will hold up. I think our offense may actually be better going into that game and perform better than they will.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that this is really not only a make or break game. This is a make or break game for both teams because, I mean, for those State fans who don't know, too, basically after they play us, they play at Memphis, but then they play LSU, Texas A&M, and Alabama. So, I mean, if they can't get through us, I mean, they need that win against us to get that momentum heading into that tough stretch. But same thing for us. I mean, we play Furman after that, but then we go right into Clemson, and then we have a really tough stretch with playing Boston College, playing some of the bigger teams like Wake Forest, etc., that are going to be good this year. So, I mean, it's definitely a big game. But also, too, I would say even that a lot of fans kind of have the Clemson game circled this year. I would actually say the biggest game this year is the Mississippi State game, just because of the fact that it's like Clemson, they're a really good team. And again, we'll talk about them later. But Mississippi State, it's more that they're a solid win. They're in the SEC. It's a tough environment. So in a game like that, it really comes down to the maturity of the team. And if we can win this game, it shows that the maturity of this program and the maturity of the players in this program and the coaches are heading in the right direction.
Right.
Which is what we want for a program. At the end of the day, growing a program is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And and I think for me, a win against Mississippi State would be, I would say that would speak big things. No matter what happens against Clemson, a win against Mississippi State shows that we're heading in the right direction with this program. So really for me, it comes down to that there's no doubt that obviously with the tough schedules coming up that it's going to be big. And the biggest thing we have to do is we have to shut down the passing game. So for 2020, 87% of the total yards for Mississippi State were from passing yards. 87%. So basically, if you shut down the pass, there's no offense.
And that goes to what you would expect with the Mike Leach team. He's going to throw the crap out of a ball. So,
right. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. For me, it comes down to, and I think this is also a big game because what has been one of our biggest issues with state teams over years, it has been the secondary. So now the secondary really has to step up. But for me, I would say between the depth and the game experience that we have with guys like Tanner Ingle, Jakeem Harris, Tyler Baker-Williams, Shaheem Battle, and then like with new transfers like Fagan, but even like with Derek Pitts from Marshall, I think that we have the depth and the experience and also to the talent to keep them at bay enough for Devin Leary and the guys to do their work and pull out this game in a nail biter. So we've got the same so far.
So you think it'll be a pretty close game is what you're thinking?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a nail biter, but I think that, again, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. I think it's 2 even teams, and I think that we're going to barely pull out a win, but it's going to be a big win.
I think
huge win.
I think it's actually going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle because I'm not sure what their offense is going to be like other than throwing the ball a lot. I mean, one thing about Mississippi State is 3 of their 4 top receivers come back. They lost a lot of depth behind them, but they've got 3 of their best 4 receivers coming back. Their best receiver, for those who want to keep an eye on him, his name is Jaden Walley, Walley. And I think they're really going to need to establish their line early but they throw so much and they get it out of that quarterback's hands so quickly that I really think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think our defense can be the strength of our team. I think the defense is the strength of their team. I think it's just a matter of who can do more on offense. with a new quarterback and Will Rogers. And if I'm betting, I'm going to bet more on a healthy Devin Leary than I maybe would on a healthy Will Rogers going into the season. I haven't seen Will Rogers, most of that, but that's what I'm going to bank on. And I think that he does get a win. I think it's going to be something like a 21-17 kind of game, something like that, maybe somewhere around that ballpark. But I think State gets the win.
So jumping right into Furman, let's go ahead and just knock through Furman. So NC State right now is put as a 96.3% favorite per FPI, giving Furman only 3.7%. So for me, simple as I think that the biggest key for this is get up as quick as possible, get the starters resting. We got a big game the following week against Clemson. Can't overlook Furman by any means, but just walk in there, take care of business, get up. And by halftime, let's put, some other guys in there, especially on defense and secondary, to get them ready for Clemson.
Yeah.
Keep them fresh, keep them healthy, and move on.
Yeah.
So simple as that.
And to Furman's credit, I was looking this up to see, there's not a lot out there about them, but I was seeing they're predicted to finish second in the Southern Conference. And then on the media pool, they're actually predicted to finish first. And that's basically between them and Wofford. For some names you want to watch out for, their running back's name is Devin Wynn, Wynn, and their linebacker's name is Adrian Hope. Those two guys were first team all Southern Conference players. They had a bunch of players on their second team all conference, but it's when you mentioned the FPI line or prediction, which is 96% State, it's Furman. One thing I thought was also pretty interesting. And I don't know if you guys know this, and I was looking at the history. Do you realize that Furman leads the series between NC State and Furman in all time in football? Did you know that? I did not. That. Yep. So that's Furman leads a series 8 wins to 5 losses and 4 ties. It sounds bizarre, but if you look, so the last time we played them was in 2017. State won 49-16. The next time we played them was 1985. Maybe some of the people who are listening were there that game. I wasn't even born that year. But 1985, Furman beat us 42-20. Then the game before that, 1984, they beat us 34-30. Now the game after that, the game before that was in 1982 was State beat them 26-0. But I was pretty shocked when I saw that record. So. I'm not saying, it's going to be a close one. I think State blows them out of the water, but, kind of an interesting little tidbit I had no idea about. I was like, really? Furman leads the series? That's kind of crazy.
So, and then jumping now into the game, Clemson at home on Saturday night. Wow. Just it's exciting to say the least. I think it's going to be a lot different than the game we played against Clemson at home 2 years ago with Trevor Lawrence, where they blew us out in the first half and didn't even look back. I think this is going to be an exciting game. I think it's going to be a hype game. I wouldn't even be surprised again. I think, honestly, if we beat Mississippi State and we head into Clemson 3-0, don't be surprised if we host College Game Day, because Clemson is obviously going to be one of the top 5 teams in the country by that point. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're top 25 by that point. And I just don't see how, again, that's going to be a big game. So, Macon, I'll hand it over to you, my friend.
Yeah. I'll be honest right now. I'm hoping for that matchup. I'm hoping, because I think the Mississippi State game is going to be a litmus test for State moving into the season. You mentioned maturity. I want to say if State's going to get Clemson, I want to say if they don't beat him, they're never going to beat him. But I really think this is the year that they really could get them. Right now, I say that ESPN's FPI has us at a 10% chance to win the game, which is a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be something like we had a 25% chance to win the game or 20% chance. I think that DJ Uiagalelei, I think I said his name right, Uiagalelei.
Yep. Yep.
I think he could win ACC Player of the Year. If you look at his stats, when he played, the couple of times he played last season against Notre Dame and Boston College. And Boston College had a really good year last year. Most of the times they've not been great. but they were a notable
Mhm.
Boston College team. And he
Yep.
threw what's the number here? He threw against Notre Dame. I think it was in South Bend. He
It
threw
was in South Bend.
he threw for 439 yards, not all-purpose yards. He threw for 439 all-purpose yards, 49 passing yards at South Bend against Notre Dame, and he had
Mhm.
two passing touchdowns and one rushing touchdown.
Mhm.
How many players have done that going into one of their first starts ever? I
Yep.
think this guy, if he stays healthy and Clemson stays healthy, I think he could end up being the player of the year candidate. I think it's going to be a strong case that you're going to see throughout the year if he stays healthy. But I think it's also, I mean, it is a big deal. They lose Lawrence, they lose ETN, the all-time leading rusher in ACC history, one of the Clemson's first number one pick, all time, and Trevor Lawrence. If they had a weakness, I would say it's probably going to be running the ball. If they had one, it would be, I think, Lynn J. Dixon is there going to be the main running back. I know everybody knows Will Shipley as like a young guy. He may see some time. Was it the guy's name? Kobe Pace is another running back they have, but Lynn J. Dixon's going to be the main guy. I know their offensive line is, I think I heard someone mention their offensive line is not real. I don't think they're any heavier than 300 pounds. So
Yeah.
they're like a smaller offensive line, relatively speaking. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. That maybe they can, technique is everything. But I think if State's going to get them, this is it. This is the game. This is the year to do it because they have one of the most talented teams Dave Doran's had, with one of the more balanced teams Dave Doran's had, and they've got it coming off of it. Clemson has lost their number one quarterback, their number one running back. They've lost Amari Rogers. They've lost a couple other players, and their defensive line, Breesy, and their linebacker Skalski, and I'm trying to think of some other guys on their team. They've got some really good players. I'm not going to predict us to beat them. If I'm being logical and honest, no, I'm not. I don't think we beat them personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I will say I think it could be the wins could make it be very, very interesting. There's been a lot of years where a lot less talented teams have beaten Clemson, or come close to at least.
Yeah. For me, really, it comes down to, I don't think that necessarily you're going to predict State to win. Not for this game, but I mean, even anytime soon. Just because, unfortunately, Clemson is a powerhouse, man. They're just stacked on all fronts. Just like Macon was saying, I mean, how can you really even point out really a weakness? Yeah, I mean, their offensive lines is their weakness, but it's not really a weakness. It's just where they're weakest, which is for most college football teams, their weakest is pretty strong for most other schools. So, but yeah, I mean, so for the offensive side, they lost two of their three top pass catchers from last season. They lost ETN, they lost Trevor Lawrence, but they lost Justin Ross at the beginning of the season. I think actually even before the season even started, and he was out for the entire year. So they actually get him back this season, which is going to be big for them. Add that big pass catcher back, but really looking at their schedule. So first of all, they play their first game against Georgia at Bank of America Stadium for the kickoff game, and that's going to be a huge game, not only for Clemson, but even for the ACC as well. Again, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, we want to beat Clemson, but at the end of the day, it's good for us if Clemson wins against Georgia. We want that. Now, again, you may have other reasons to not pull for Clemson, which I completely understand. But then they play South Carolina State at home, and then they play Georgia Tech at home before playing us. So really, for me, I look at Georgia Tech and I go, please give them a game. Like, I mean, most metrics show that they're going to blow Georgia Tech out of the water. But I think for me, if Georgia Tech can get them sweating just a little bit, and basically get them to play a full game or as long of a game as possible, because on our end we're playing Furman, so hopefully we can get guys a little bit more rest than others. Now you may say, well, that's such little things that you're talking about. But hey, little things make a big difference. Hey, 6 inches can win you or lose you a football game. So
yeah, I'll tell you what though, my worry is kind of on the flip side. that Clemson Georgia game. Clemson
Yeah.
loses to Georgia.
Yeah.
They're already
They
their
might be
college
toast.
football playoff hopes are on the line, and they're going to be on a tear. They're going to be going out. I think if they were to lose to Georgia, they'll be making a statement. They want to go make another statement, like, yeah, we lost our season opener, but we're still the same Clemson. We just happen to lose. I think they're going to be. I'm hoping actually kind of that Georgia wins that game, because I don't want them to roll into Carter Finley with this chip on their shoulder as a Clemson team with a chip on their shoulder. So that's personally where I'm at. Although I want to see the ACC win, so I don't think all in all. I think at the end of the day, for prediction's sake, I'm going to say that State falls to Clemson again. But I think it could be a pretty interesting game.
Yep. And then for me, I'm putting down as a loss as well, logically. But again, I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind that we can, and honestly, that we should. I mean, Dorn, it would ask a lot of him to beat Mississippi State and Clemson 2 out of his first 4 games, which is why, again, but again, if he could pull that off, though, like, let's not even. But anyway, so
big if.
So thank you all so much again for tuning in. Make sure to tune in with us on Thursday, and look forward to seeing y'all then. As always, go Pack.